Alright everybody, let's go. Going into the next video, another Donghuang. We did get a flawless 0 here as survival legend. So we got the Fate here, the Harmony, the Void. Get used to that being your meta for any tank or support. In terms of Arcana, we got that knowledge gem there to signify that we are the roamer, we are the support here. We're just trying to do some damage to this ADC here. As you can see, the Kayan is also trying to dish some damage in basic attacks and skills to our Garo. That's typical meta, is you want to try to kill that squishy first at any cost. Really good setup flick there to just completely demolish.
Countless hours of planning and preparation have brought you here. This is a sport like no other.
That Flowborn there, Flowborn is really good. I am sitting at a really high win rate with no casual plays at all. Can't say I remember exactly what it was. It was a 66. I think it went to like 70 win rate for less than 10 games or something like that. Did not practice that in casual, but what I'll say about that is Creative Genius definitely has a head start Lucidius. So that being said, don't try to play something you think you can play unless you actually know you can. I do main Hypercarry ADC more often than not in terms of my 50,000 plus hours in the scene of 5v5 MOBAs. So with that being said, I've been playing for like 20 years. So it's really easy for me to pick up a champion and just kind of know how to play because my understanding and competency, the macro is that great. So with that being said, if you're into that and you're into the analytical commentary of analyzing the macro, you want to analyze Evolve Win, smash that subscribe button for me. That would really help me out. Trying to get to 500 subscribes as soon as possible. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor. Mutualism for short, sciencey type stuff. Anyways, we pick up that tier 2 aura here. They're kind of bullying us here. Again, going over the skills real quick. The first skill will summon those orbital spears. Each one will do AP scaling damage. If you have 3, correction on the previous videos, without the magical lifesteal on the Avarice, only 3 will provide a heal. So that being said, those 3 spears will allow your 2 to do one of 3 things, depending on the number of spears you have. If it has 1, it'll shoot out 1 circular AoE, dealing AP damage and slow. Same thing with the 2, it'll do 2 spears with the circular AoE, AP damage and slow. And if you have 3 spears and you shoot it out, the 3rd and final one will have a stun attached to the AP damage. Really nice stuff. And you will have immense heal as you level that up. I typically max that first so I can get that nice sustain in lane to greed my GPM and my macro for short. The last skill there is your ultimate, which will completely crowd control lock, keep them there for quite a bit of time to solidify easy claps for your team. Really easy stuff. Just keep in mind the damage dealt to both you and the person you ult will be equally halved. So you may take a lot of damage, but if they attack you, you will either walk away with them being destroyed, and if they don't attack you, maybe you survive, and so does the opponent that you're ulting, and maybe you both just trade, and that's fine too. Especially if you're prioritizing a specific squishy, like their mid, their ADC, or their jungle, you're getting someone off the board that isn't a pawn. That would be like a rook or a queen or someone very important. So think about that when you're using your ult. Try to get someone who's critical to their winning composition in terms of macro team fight. You want to take out that player from the game and solidify ease for your team to just ace right after, if at all possible, based on the conditions that are evolving, based on what's happening in terms of who's grouped up, what cooldowns are up, what spells are down in terms of your flash or your sprint or whatever have you. Garo comes in here and just cleans that up. I see the Arthur going to try to attack that. She has a pretty good bait there. He does land the silence, but I would have stayed with and ulted him if I had to. Garo just walks away and is like, no, I don't think I want to greet it anymore. He does have a smite, so she didn't have to worry too much about him flashing after silencing me. Otherwise, that could have led to her death, but the silence does not last very long. So it's a real quick thing, but it does have outplay. Silence is a very strong component of the game. You will see that in the Sun Bin as well. He'll shoot off his ultimate, and you get really good silence. Plus, he's got movement as well for all party members on your team. So movement wins games. Again, the rules are as such. Rule number 1, movement safety. That means we're not inting, we're not biffing, we're playing very competent and clean. Rule number 2, get that gold and the XP. Keep up on your micro. Make sure you get that gold. Keep up on your macro in terms of gold and economy, so that way you can win your micro trades is what I mean. Get that XP so you have extra skill values and level ups over your enemy opponent. Get that gold so you can start building ahead of your opponent. Gold leads will demolish the opponent. Very important stuff. Rule number 3, take down those turrets, solidify some macro map pressure, so that way you are in control of the enemy. Lead the game by controlling your opposition. Along those lines, and rule number 3 is also take these Tyrants and Overlords if you can. The key component is to take down their tier 1s first, push first, then you should have easy opportunity to take those Tyrant Overlords with one, without your team without the enemy team, not even noticing. 2, you can group up with the pressure that you have them babysitting, so you have insufficient numbers that they can't fight you when you're trying to take those objectives. So that's about it for rule number 3. That will solidify some power for your games, allow you to have value and advantage over your enemies, so that way you may win. Rule number 4, try to help your team in accordance with your role and what your role does. So, but do so in a way that you don't get clapped. So if you're going to provide help, try to be clean about it and don't risk your life too much. If you're the support or the tank, usually if you do die, they'll try to clean it up afterwards and try to make it right. Again, everybody in this game realizes it's kind of demoralizing to die, so what we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible by being a cohesive unit, playing competently, trying to limit the deaths as much as possible. The final rule number 5, is pick something that is viable in accordance with your role and your position. Try to pick something that's going to be a benefit to the team, value for all, and synergy and complementary in mind. And think about that and pre-made. What are they picking, and how can you guys complement one another by picking things that are going to help each individual champion kit in the game, and each individual champion kit in the game will bring value for all. Real good play there.
You have to believe in yourself.
I might have died there if I didn't do that heal, but I was like, well, I got this Flowborn caught out. That's a winning play for us. I did have a 0 this match, but sometimes it's worth it to make those plays just to get those ADCs gone, those squishier targets, that mid lane, that jungle. Why? Because then they get set behind on a death timer. They're getting less gold while the rest of my team survive and can get more GPM and get ahead of the macro in terms of gold. So real good stuff there. Anyways, you can refer to the description at the very top of any video on TikTok and YouTube anytime you need to see the 5 rules for 5v5 MOBAs. That being said, that leads me to the 3 steps to success. So that would be the approach. Now, the approach is a pretty simple one, but it gets a little complicated. The way I'm going to put it in layman's terms is think about how you're approaching the enemy. Think deliberately on how you want to attempt to make deliberate actions. And sometimes that requires you analyzing your opponent before you can decide how you want to approach them. Now, that leads me to the second step, which is the path. Now, the path is you got your approach, you got some information, now you decide, how do I want to counter what they're doing? You take a path that leads you to the third step, the mountain, the result. So your approach is going to be the information you gain, the path is going to be the steps you take based on the information, and the mountain is the result. You got a kill, you won the game, you didn't die, things like that. So perfect analogy that did come from the Legend Assassin's Fist, on YouTube. You can watch that one for free. It's like the Street Fighter movie with Ryu and Ken. So watch these movies. You'll understand the analogy. The other movie to think about when you're thinking about the approach, the path, and the mountain is Tracer, the movie with Taylor Lautner. Think about the approach and the path as the trace and the result as the plateau. Where they're going to be at the end of that path and the result at that said end outcome. So, good stuff there. I see my Wuyon making some plays here. Try to complement her by laying up some balls if I have to, zoning them out, providing her a window of opportunity to get out of that fight. Again, if you see your top lane going in, realize that they are susceptible to clap. Try to pull that aggro from her. It looks like he didn't have the avatar button clicked, so his next skill automatically went to the closest one, which was me. So a little bit of mind game component there. If they're not hitting that avatar button, it is pretty easy to distract them by just face chucking them, pulling that aggro, getting our team away in safety. She did end up dying, but it's the thought that counts. I gave them reasonable opportunity, and she was just too low. So we kind of, together as a team, greeted our states, not necessarily on her. It was just, we weren't in a cohesive phalanx maneuver like Sparta. The shields weren't raised, we weren't grouped up in a circular fashion. Again, when I say phalanx, that does not mean sit right on top of one another. That is a recipe for disaster. Why? Because these mid lanes got powerful zone and burst damage, AoE, and if you're all grouped up together, what does that do? Make it much easier for the mid lane to attack all of you, dish out that micro damage, poke you down, and now set up their team for success. Anyways, Wuyon's looking for a peel on that Flowborn from the team. So looking good. He's just pulling him away from the team so we can get a clap. I tried to go in there, but he didn't fall for the bait. So it's just simply putting a line in the sea, a hook in the ocean, and seeing what's going to bite. Now, it doesn't mean you actually need to do anything. Sometimes you can kind of bait them with some further skill combos or attacks. Sometimes you just got to stick your neck out yourself and see if they follow. See if they have a greed mentality. When we're analyzing their behaviors, we're trying to understand the decisions they're making. What type of player mindset are you? Are you full aggro? Are you more passive aggressive? Are you just kind of lazy and sleeping? Things like that. It's not to put people down, but the reality is we all have our own unique nature. And
I'm invincible!
Looking bad. How do we win this?
We attack together!
nature itself is a tool that can be analyzed and combated, rebutted, countered. So be thinking about what players do and how you can go against them and their specific mind, body, soul. So it goes back to Shaq West, mind fuck. We're attempting to read their brain in a telepathic type of way, and we are trying to determine how we can combat that and counter play. So be thinking about those things moving forward. What type of player are they? It's a lot of profiling. You can think about that in regards to any of the federal government agents. They are big on profiling. It is deduction game. So we will profile individuals and then decide how to go against them. This is a very big analyzation game. So that's what we're trying to do here is analyze, evolve, and win. And part of that is being on the same page in TED Toolbox fashion. So if you haven't seen TED Talks Toolbox, watch that as well. Part of that is making sure we're on the same page and communicating in a way that everyone can understand and be able to follow the said steps. Like this is a scientific method, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry can follow these steps, those 5 rules, those 3 steps to gaming success to achieve the same results, the win. So pretty good cover there on the Frost Mage there. Really good power there on the Nuwa. She completely blocked me off and pushed me away, and I kind of just stood there just to show you I'm stuck, I'm wiggling around. Nuwa is definitely very powerful. I did update the list, so she's on the top right now. That global ultimate is pretty nasty, and the rest of her components of the kit will totally hard block you. When we talk about that wall in the previous video, that is a wall that you cannot pass through unless you have a flash. It's kind of similar to the Ata. Ata's wall is pretty hard to deal with, but you can. There is counter play. Again, the broken list is specifically for things that can't be countered, like her ult. You cannot stop her from using that ult. If she does so from a safe position, a position of power, then you just have to react. And the reality is some people can react fast and some people can react slow.
Checkmate.
That's just nature. So another component of analyzation and deduction and profiling your opponent is seeing whether or not they're sleeping or whether or not they're just slow or fast. Again, full aggro kind of gives that away, and counter play or rebuttal play on your opposition's part will be key component to seeing whether or not their aptitude is high enough that they can react in time to successfully stop you or not. So if you notice they're a little bit weaker, I've noticed in the MMR specifically, as I've looked up my opponents, usually there's one person on the team who's a weaker level player, that maybe they don't have as much Grandmaster seals, or they don't have one at all, and the rest of us have an abundance of seals, or we're a top percentage player. So with that being said, there's usually a little guppy on the team that the Sharks can eat to snowball off. If you can pinpoint who the weakest link is, then that'll make your game easier. It kind of goes back to Dead by Daylight, where it's save the best for last, Michael Myers, and you're figuring out who the strongest opponent is, and you're annihilating the ones who are weaker and saving the best for last, so you can play the last one together as a team in hard focus and clap them as a one cohesive unit. So with that being said, that leads us to the metrics here with the build component. So looking at the builds briefly, everything looks fine on both sides. I can't say anyone was trolling or anything like that. These are meta builds. They were playing extremely competent when it comes to Arcana and build. So with that being said, we'll move into the next step of the metrics here. So we got the damage dealt, the damage taken, the total gold, and the team fighting. Again, when we're looking at our roles, when it comes to the tank or the support, I'm looking for damage taken and team fighting. You can see with me a pretty good example here with 27% and 61 for the damage taken in team fighting. Wu Yan 27%, 42. We want upwards of 33% of the time. So you should be team fighting quite a bit to solidify that win and not grief your opponent. In terms of the damage dealers, that mid, that ADC, that jungle, we're looking for their team fighting so that they were participating, doing their job, being on the back line, making plays, as well as the damage statistic. You can see here really high stuff on 26%, 22% on my Frost Mage S and my Garo. Looking at the enemy team, you can see their team fighting rate was pretty high, especially on like Kayan. She took the cake with 85%. She really did her support job in healing people, setting up plays. It just did not work out in these evolving conditions. This particular instance of game, she got a 26% on the damage taken, or he, perhaps. I don't know if Kayan's a boy or girl, so correct me if I'm wrong. Looking at the damage taken on Arthur, 24%, really did his job, and his team fighting was high. He also had 26%, so when we talk about the damage taken and damage dealt on a top lane, clash lane, technically speaking, that would be a fighter or bruiser, someone who can dish out a ton of damage and take some hits for the team. Tank those hits, alleviate some stress from your team, make it easier for them to win. It just did not work out this particular instance, but Arthur is a good pick. So looking at the Floorborn there, you can see 26% damage, really good stuff. That's what we're looking for. So moving on to the next component is the match. So we can see here they only had one Overlord. We stole everything because it was a steamroll, 8 turrets, 2 Tyrants, 2 Overlords. So that about concludes all the metrics. Again, moving forward, refer to the description anytime you need to think about those 5 rules or those 3 steps to gaming success, and check the tier list. I am updating it all the time and putting it at the beginning of the video. So if you need to pause that video, check it out, pick A and above. So pick those A's, pick those S's, pick those S+, pick those brokens. Just don't throw the composition over picking something you know is strong. So make sure you have complementary synergy in mind when you're picking those things. I did go over that in the last video, so you can check that if you like. Otherwise, I'll be going over it in next videos as well, just to keep ironing you, keep on making sure I forward your brain through evolution so you can win. Anyways, with that being said, that is the end of the video. So analyze, evolve, win. and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good day or night, and till then, bye.